In Power Apps, if you ever want to send someone directly to a specific screen or to a specific piece of information, specific is a hard word to say, that's called deep linking. So in Power Apps, we're going to learn how to do deep linking. Now, I've covered this before, right? I've covered a few different videos, got like 250,000 views. But in all of those, I was like, hey, I don't like this way because it doesn't support the new stuff, but the new stuff didn't really work very well. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do Power Apps deep linking from the right way, right? So we're not going to use OnStart. We're going to use parameters, and then we're going to combine those in our formulas section so we can talk about how that works. And then we're going to use the StartScreen functionality and how that works, right? So we'll start at the beginning. We'll do a very basic intro of it. And then as we'll progress a little bit, we'll introduce data and all that. So if that sounds like fun, then let's switch over to my desktop and take a look. All right, so to make sure there's no tricks up my sleeve, we're going to start with a completely blank screen. And so the first thing we need to understand is that in Power Apps, there is a function called Param. And what that does is that looks up in the URL and extracts information from there. So what we can do, right, if we go here and we insert just a simple label, we're going to grab this, and then we're just going to say param, right? So this is just text, right? It's a label, parameter equals, and then right here, we're going to say ampersand. And so then we're going to use the param function, or parama, I don't know, I call it param. And so then here, what you're going to do is you're going to create the parameter. So this can be anything you want. Shane is awesome, always runs the fastest. But if you're not into that, like we could literally make it something like cow, right? Like I'm being ridiculous because I want you to see that you can make it whatever you want. But now that we understand that we can do this parameter cow, so then now what we want to do is we want to be able to open it up and pass in information. So from an app perspective, we're done here, right? So let's go ahead and say save. We're going to name my app PowerApps Deep Linking Demo, because apparently I'm in the mood to type a lot of words. I don't know. And we're going to hit save. Okay, so obviously this is just saving an app with that simple thing on there. So now what I want you to do is go up here and click on the new little share critter. And so after a second, it's going to be like, hey, copy the link. And we hit the drop down. And I'm going to say copy the link to play the app, right? If we're sharing this with other people, we need to worry about security. But right now we're just learning deep linking. But I'm going to copy that URL. Okay, so now the URL is copied. We're going to close that. We will make the browser bigger, and we're going to open a new tab. Now I'm going to paste that in. And so that is the big giant, right? HTTP, apps, play, default, blah, 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 right? So much stuff. You don't care what it says. You don't need to know what it says. Doesn't matter. Go to the very far end, right? So I'm on the far right over here, and we're going to say ampersand, right? So when you add parameters into the URL, you just ampersand and add it in. And then we're going to type in cow, right? Because that's what I made it. And then we're going to say equals. And then what do you want cow to equal? And so just for this first one, we're just going to literally say, hi, mom, right? And we're going to do more intelligent things with it later. But I really want you to see, like, none of this matters. That's what I'm really getting after here with this ridiculousness, okay? So we just added ampersand cow equals hi, mom, exclamation point to the URL. We're going to hit enter. Boom. Look at that. Parameter equals hi, mom. So that's how you pass it in. Now, unfortunately, to test it, you have to test it in a live, like with published apps. So that makes this go a little bit slower, but now you can see that's how it comes in, right? And that's why when I do this, I put the little label on here so I could like be really obvious where it was. If it said parameter equals nothing, I would have known that I'd done something incorrect, right? So for example, if we go up here, go back to the end, if we say, let's try and do, oh, let's misspell it, right? We forgot the O, right? So if we do that, it's not going to crash or anything, right? Just the parameter is empty because we forgot the O in cow. What if we put the O back, but we do a capital O, right? We'll do all caps. Let's hit enter. Same thing. Parameters are case sensitive, so you've got to get that correct, right? But now if we go back here, so because we made it lowercase like that, we'll do that. And then we can do this. Now, if you're looking there like, Shane, where did that %20 come from? So my browser was smart enough to say, you gave me a URL with a space in it. I can't send a space across the internet. So it URL encoded it and put the %20 in there for us. So that's when you start, if you start seeing weird things in there, it's most likely because it put them in there for you, right? Now, what's more common here is we're probably going to do something like pass a number, right? So because what we're really going to do in the next video, like not today, but like the next week's video, is we're going to pass the primary key of an item. Well, we're going to do that today. We'll do that today too. That's all right. We'll do it today. But so I just want to go up here, right? So if we just put in cal 4, right? Parameter equals 4, right? I know I'm beating a dead cow, horse, I don't know, but you get the idea. I want you to be very confident in what that does. Second thing I want you to be very confident in, because from the other videos that had the gazillion views, I've learned that people are like, well, what if I want to have 2 parameters? No problem, right? We'll go up here. What is ampersand and ampersand, and then we'll just do another param, and then we'll call this one dog, right? And so then now, right, my URL is this. And remember, I'm just putting this in a label right now so we can see it, but you don't have to do that. Now, in order to test to make sure it works, what are we going to have to do? We need to save and publish. So we'll click on the publish over here, and I'll just edit out the waiting on the whole publishing thing to happen for all the other videos, right? But so now it's going to publish. We're going to jump back over here. We're going to go up here to our URL. We're going to go to the end. We're just going to add another ampersand, and then we're going to say dog equals buddy, right? Buddy is sleeping right there. Hi, buddy. And if we hit enter, it's going to load. Now, it's not there. You're like, what? I see the 4, but not the buddy. But look, it's like, hey, you forgot to refresh since the browser, the new version rolled out. So we'd say refresh 4 and buddy. Yeah, right? So we can do this. You can have as many parameters you want. There's probably a limit. I've never ran into it. So I've never had a need for more than 2. But you can keep adding these until the cows come home. I am funny, right? It's Friday night. I should not be working, but that's why I'm a little goofy. Okay, so now that we've got that understood, now we want to do a little bit more with this, right? And so the next thing we want to do with this is we want to actually grab it, and we want to make a decision on what screen we go to based on the parameter. Wait, pause. I forgot. Hey, if you need help building an app to do this or any other Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Copilot Studio, you get the idea, solution, hit us up over at www.powerapps911.com. We got consulting, we got training, we got mentoring, we got break fix help. If you need help, we got your back. All right, back to the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the app properties, and we're going to go to my dear friend, StartScreen. I'm already there. That's why I'm so confused. Okay. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to say something like this. We're going to say if parameter cow equals 1, then we want to go to screen 1. And if not, we got to have another screen. Let's add another screen, new screen, blank. And if not, we're going to go to screen 2. Okay. Now you see the little squiggly here, right? If you hover, it's going to tell us incompatible types for comparison. These types can't be compared, text and number. So parameters are always text. They always come in as text. If you need them to be something else, like in this case, I want it to be a number, then I'm going to go here and use my value function and put that around it. So that'll turn the text that comes from cal into a number. This becomes important later on, like if we're using Dataverse and we want to pass in the primary key for Dataverse, which is a GUID, right? We would use the GUID function here. SharePoint, we're going to use a value function, right? So you just have to sometimes shape your data. But now that looks good. So real quick here, we'll go back. We're going to insert a label. And then we're just going to say, hey, label, I want you to show me, right? Maybe you didn't know this trick, but app.ActiveScreen.name. Okay. And so then now I can just copy that label, copy and put that on screen 2. And there it is. And so that way it'll be dynamic. Okay. So we're good. We're going to recheck my logic if I've already forgotten what I said. All right. So if it's 1, we'll go to 1. If it's 2, or if it's anything else, it would go to screen 2. So let's publish again. I'll be right back. Okay. It's published. We'll go over here. And so then over here, once again, we're going to go, what do? We currently have cal is 4. So that should take us to screen 2. So let's just hit enter. Now, when it goes, right, that same warning again, we need to refresh to get the latest version. Boom, screen 2. What? So look, we can drive what screen we send them to based on the parameter. Here you're going to do though, right, it's going to just do like an if statement off of that parameter. Now, what if you want to capture that parameter in a variable? We used to do that on Start. We also used to navigate on Start, which Microsoft frowns upon. That's why we're making this video. But so if we wanted to do this on, or grab this parameter and have it hold it and do other things with it, which we're going to want to do in a little bit, or like in like 2 minutes, I don't know, real soon. We're going to go up here to named formulas, right? Because the parameter is not going to change while we're running. So we might just do something like nf cal equals value param cal, and then put a semicolon there at the end. So then this would store that parameter that we are passing into the variable called nfcal, so then we can reference it throughout our app, right? Without even having to type this value param function. With one caveat, this one kind of tricked me up. I thought, okay, now that I've got this, why don't I go back here to StartScreen and put this in here? Turns out that StartScreen fires before formulas fires. So every time it was sending me to screen 2 no matter what, because it was basically always evaluating to blank, which in this case, blank would always be screen 2. So just keep that in mind, right? Is that you want to be, cognizant that this one needs to be written this way, but then everywhere else that we want to use it in our app, we would do it as a formula. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about while we're thinking ahead here, remember, so like what would happen today if I go here, like the way of currently, I didn't republish, but it doesn't matter, right? But what if I give them just the straight up URL with no parameters, right? This is back to that base URL we copied straight from PowerApps earlier, the URL you usually pass around to people. If we run this one, it is going to always take us to screen 2 because there is no parameter up there, right? So you want to think about that in your start screen logic. So maybe what you really wanted here is something like this. Let's add another screen, new screen, blank. All right, we're going to name this one the welcome screen, right? A lot of our apps start with a welcome screen. And then just because I'm crazy, I can just drag this up here, right? Drag this up here. So now I have a welcome screen. So now if we look at my logic, right? So back on app, if we go here to on start screen, so now it says, hey, if this equals 1, go to screen 1. If not, it equals screen 2. That is probably not what I really want here, right? What I really want is if it doesn't match something that I've got in my URL, then we would want to send it where? We'd want to send it to welcome. But what you might have done is might have said, well, you know what? If it equaled that, I want it to go to 1. But if the parameter equals 2, I want it to go to screen 2, right? That seems reasonable. Oh, not there. That seems reasonable to me. So we go here, we'll change this to 2. And then we will do 2. Oh my goodness. I do not like the new formula bar. Just, well, let's get it out of the way. I think it's ridiculous that they make it when I hit enter, it jumps around. Anyway, so then now look, so if the parameter is 1, it goes to screen 1. If it's 2, it goes to screen 2. If not, if the parameter is anything else, or if the parameter is blank, now it'll go to welcome. Okay. And if you're thinking, Shane, that could have been a switch statement, it could. I'm not going to get into switch statements right now. I can only handle so much in one day. Okay. So there you go. So now we know how to direct it. So now the last piece of the puzzle is instead of worrying about what screen they're going to, what if I want to send them to a specific screen? So we're going to use cal to send them to the screen we want, but then we're going to use dog to tell it what record we want to see. So let's go here to screen 1. Let's go add a data source first, right? Add data. And for this example, we're going to use SharePoint. Right, like any of your tabular data sources work. Doesn't have to be SharePoint. It's easiest for me, right? So PowerApps videos, and then we're going to add my employees list right here, like that, and say connect. It's under my face. It's fine. I clicked on employees and said connect. You're okay. Okay, and so then now that that's there, we're going to insert a gallery, hook it up to the employees. I'm going to pull it over here so it's out of the way of all of these shenanigans we did. Right? And so then the second piece of the puzzle, right? So that's all my employees. We're going to insert ourselves in edit form, hook it up to employees. All right. And drag this over, right? Like clicking on dragging stuff's hard too now. It's whatever. Okay. So now we got it. And then of course we would set the item here. So traditionally what you're going to do is what? Gallery1.selected. And so then now, right, that's just a normal gallery in a form, right? So now what I want to do is I want to send a parameter that is going to send them to a specific, to this screen. So send them to screen 1, and then send them to a specific person on this screen. Okay, so if we inserted a button, right, we need to give people the URL that does this. So in order to do that, we'll go over here to data sources and add our friend Office 365 Outlook, right? So there's Office 365 Outlook. We'll connect to it. And so then here for our on select, we would do send email v2. And then we would send it to just the logged in user, right? So we're just going to send it to me. And then we're going to send the subject is check it out. And then for the body, what we're going to do is we're going to say something like this. We're going to do a, it's in double quote, right? We can do HTML, a href equals single quote. And then that big old URL from earlier. Okay, so that's the URL I copied straight from SharePoint, but we want to add to that a piece of the puzzle, right? We need to add in there our new parameter. So it would be ampersand, and then cow equals, close our quotes, and then ampersand, our gallery1.selected.id, right? The primary key of that person. So Nicole is 1, Chewy's 4, you get the idea. So that'll dynamically create that URL for us. And so then we now just need to clean up our HTML here. We'll do that. And then we'll say that, and then we'll say click here. And then we'll do something like that, right? And if you're not familiar with writing HTML, I'm not gonna do or cover that right now, but right, all your AI things can help you. Or if you really struggle, leave me a link in the comments and I will shoot you the email that kind of walks through step-by-step how that HTML works, right? But that should send an email, so we can close that. So that would send me an email, I'm the logged in user, with our URL, and it would say cow is equal to, click here. Oh, we don't want to do cow, right? Because cow we wanted to equal 1, because we want to go to screen 1. And then we do another ampersand, and then we'd say dog equals. So we're going to use dog for this example. Boom, boom, boom. Or you know what? Let's make a new parameter. We'll call it EID for employee ID, right? So there you go. We'll just add our own parameter. Easy enough. So that will send them with a link straight to that. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to capture that variable, right? So if we kind of scroll in here, we know we're going to have EID. That's going to be the ID of the record that was selected. And that's what we want to send them, because we want to send them back to this ID. But what if they want to click around and use it? So we're going to have to make this functional. And that EID, we're going to need to store a variable, and it's going to have to be a variable we can change. That's important, that we can change. When we did this one earlier, we did it as a named formula, right? And named formulas, we can't change after the fact. So PowerApps is in charge of when that's set, which is not going to work for what I want to do here. So it worked great for our Cal screen. In reality, we didn't need it at all. I just wanted to show you how they worked, but it doesn't make sense for what we're about to do. Now, if you don't understand name formulas, go watch that video. It'll super help you. But what I need you to understand is that if you want to be able to change the variable as we go, you're going to go back here to OnStart. And here, what you're going to do is you're going to then do something like set var EID, and then that same whole param, what did I say? EID, make sure you get it capitalized the same way, close that, and semicolon. So now when my app starts, it will load that in. The reason I want that is because when they get to the screen, I want to make sure that this gallery is connected to that, right? So if we go here and we're going to say default, I want you to default to var EID. Wait, that's not going to work, right? Why? Invalid formula. It's expecting a record. And what is var EID right now? Oh, it's just the text that. We didn't even want it just to be the text. Like, that is just way wrong, Shane, right? But sometimes these are the mistakes that you guys make all the time. So I want you to see me make mistakes so you get it right. So what you're really looking for here is you want to say set var EID to a lookup against employees. Oh, there's that silly formula bargain. Do a comma. And then what are we looking for? We're looking for ID equals, change that to a number like we talked about before, and close that. Oh, and close one more. So this will go and fetch the employee that has the ID of that. So that is how it is going to know to send us to the specific person, right? Notice the error here is no longer happening. So I'm feeling like this should work, right? So what are we going to do? Well, let's just put some text on here just so it says hello, right? So we know it's the welcome screen if we get there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the whole save and publish. I'll be right back. Okay, publishing's done. And so we're going to go over here and go to the end, and we're going to have to put back in our pieces, right? So what? We had our whole ampersand, cow in lowercase equals 1, because we want to go to screen 1. And then we would do an ampersand again. And then we're going to do our friend EID, which we just created. And right now we want to send them to number 4. And so that should open up Chewy's record directly. Let's hit enter, see what happens. Well, nothing happened. We got to refresh, right? So let's do the refresh. It's checking my data sources. We'll say allow. But look, it's loading. It took us to the right screen, so we know that part worked. And look, Chewy's highlighted. It took us straight to Chewy. What? And now we can test. So let's click on Ferguson here. And now let's press this button. Boop. And let me grab my email. I can't even have Outlook open. Whoosh. You ever wonder why I don't respond to all my emails? It's because I close Outlook for hours on end during the day. Shh. Anyway. And so I got an email, right? There's a check it out. And if we click here on the link, this should hopefully take us straight to Ferguson. That's pretty cool. Okay. I think this app does all the things I wanted to do, right? Let's double check as well. What if we go back over here? And so what if we give it no parameters, right? So this is the way people use it day in, day out. It takes us to the hello screen. There's lots of ways to do this, right? And so like I said, next week, we're going to do a video using, we're going to build like a little approval system that uses all this. So you can see this in context with more appy details. Today wasn't about building an app. Today was about understanding deep linking, right? And so now you understand that you can have multiple parameters. You can have that if statement in your start screen. If you want to just grab the parameter and never change it, put it in the formulas. But if you need to have the parameter, you want to keep it, but you want to be able to change it, then it's got to go in OnStart. What you don't have to do, which we used to have to do, is navigate OnStart, which Microsoft said, no. So we no longer do that in this solution. OnStart is just there because we need that variable. So questions, comments, leave them below. Always curious what you got going on, right? And if you're wondering where I get these crazy ideas, so this came from a question I got from one of my students in my training class this week, right? So if you go over to training.powerapps911.com, we've got live training classes, on-demand training classes. We got 6-month programs. We got mentors. We can just help you fix a problem. Or you just go to the www version and we can do full-on scale projects for you. So, sound like fun? I thought it did. But with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day.